When we think of the way the chickens that people eat are raised, a lot of us think of the ideal family farm in the countryside, with happy birds roaming the fields and a farmer tending lovingly to his flock. But the reality is very different.
One of the most remarkable food miracles is the story of chicken, a triumph of research on the farm and in the marketing system.
If you've ever eaten chicken, they probably spent most of their life in a building like this one. Chicken farming is currently the most intensive land animal farming industry in the world. In Australia alone, over 670 million chickens are raised and slaughtered every year. But it wasn't always like this. Prior to the 1950s, chicken farms were small-scale backyard operations, and in most cases produced both eggs and chicken meat. Female chickens would be egg layers, and the male chickens who couldn't provide eggs were raised for meat on the side. Back then, chicken was eaten very occasionally, often only for special meals. However, the birth of the modern supermarket chain, along with the rise of fast food restaurants, meant that by the end of the decade, there were large companies with huge marketing budgets pushing more and more chicken meat onto consumers.
Colonel Sanders is here. Colonel Sanders is in Australia with a delicious new way to enjoy chicken.
To fuel this push to sell more product, the industry needed chickens that produced more meat. In 1959, they started growing chickens specifically bred for their large size. Referred to as broiler chickens, they grew faster and bigger than their egg-laying cousins. Now, thanks to decades of selective breeding, the modern chicken grows 3 times faster than the natural rate. They grow so big so quickly that many cannot support their own body weight and can suffer debilitating injuries, lameness, and heart failure. Every year, millions of chickens don't even survive long enough to reach slaughter weight. Meanwhile, for the meat industry, this genetic manipulation has been good for business.
Breeders use the science of genetics to produce meatier, high-producing birds.
A perfect chicken, with more meat and less fat.
Along with changes to the chickens themselves, over the last few decades, corporate mergers and takeovers have completely transformed the industry. As a result, production has been centralized onto larger and larger scale farms. Today, 70% of Australian chicken meat production is controlled by just 2 companies, Ingham's and Baiada. These giant corporations are completely vertically integrated. They own the multi-million-dollar hatcheries where the chickens are born, they own the chickens themselves from birth till death, and finally they own the slaughterhouses where chickens are killed at just 6 weeks of age. This system has been designed to maximize profit and has transformed the role of farmers. Chicken farmers no longer exist in the same way they did in the 1950s. They're now known as growers. Most growers are contracted directly to these chicken corporations, and since the company owns the birds and the rest of the infrastructure, the grower's only role is maintaining the sheds to grow as many chickens as possible, as quickly as possible. For their work, they can be paid as little as 75 cents per chicken. And it's not just some growers doing it tough. As the ABC reported in 2015,
the label says 100% Australian grown, and that may be true. What we aren't told is that these products have been processed and packed by exploited migrant workers, many of them grossly underpaid, routinely abused at work.
The report exposed allegations of worker exploitation at some chicken factories. And in recent years, there have been multiple reports of workplace accidents.
A worker has lost part of his leg in an accident at a chicken processing factory at Tamworth in the Macarthur region. The 35-year-old became trapped in machinery this morning.
So, over the last 50 years, chicken meat has become commonplace. And food companies continue to push consumers to buy more and more. Masking themselves with a folksy rural public image, over decades, the chicken meat industry has become a gigantic business. Big Chicken has built bigger farms, bigger factories, and bigger chickens, all in the name of bigger profits.